And it looks like we're about to go live. The last little 10% is taking a little bit. All right, and we are live. Okay, well, thank you for tuning in here. And let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you so we can show you what are the master smart cell activation patches, also known as phototherapy or photobiomodulation patches. We're going to explain what they are, what they do, how they work, and answer as many questions as you might have about them. And let's see, our iPhone user, you want to let us know your name?
I'm Jordan. A pleasure.
You're George?
Jordan, like Michael Jordan.
Jordan, all right. Okay, Jordan, well, thanks for tuning in. So, yes, I'm glad that you're able to make it on the Zoom today. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Fantastic Five. We have a suite of 11 phototherapy patches that take care of the primary systems of the body, but we're going to focus on the Fantastic Five, which are the ones that take care of the primary systems of the body. So we're going to start off with the mother cell activation patch. That would be the 39. And before we do that, we're going to give our disclaimer because we got to play nice. Our patches are made in FDA. They're FDA compliant Class 1 medical devices, and they're made in FDA registered facilities. So we have to follow the FDA rules, right? And the patches are not intended to treat, prevent, or cure any disease because we do not heal, cure, treat, or diagnose, nor do we offer any protocols because only pharmaceuticals, whether they're over the counter or whether they're by prescription, only those things can heal, cure, treat, diagnose, or protocols can be offered for those things. So the suggestions and recommendations here do not replace the diagnosis and treatment by a qualified licensed healthcare professional. We strongly recommend you consult with your doctor concerning your specific health challenge and treatment needed. There are no medical claims that are being made with suggestions here. We always have to say that this is intended for human use only, although I do have many of my clients and patients that do actually put the patches on their animals, and we see incredible results with them as well. Because all mammals, as you may or may not be aware, all mammals, the building block is DNA and your stem cells from conception, which we're about to get into in just a few minutes here. The other thing is that because these are made in FDA registered facilities and they're FDA Class 1, they're a medical device, they're not a medicine. It's not something that you're putting into your body. They took a new position just this last fall, and that new position is that all claims surrounding stem cells and healing, even those from natural products such as these, will be regarded as a drug claim. So the FDA also asserts that claiming that the use of light to elevate peptides such as GHKSU is inappropriate for a general wellness product. So as a result, we can't say that anymore, even though we have 90 clinical, independent, double-blind, placebo, peer-reviewed studies that were done in the US, Europe, as well as Asia, as well as we also have over 120 global patents that are approved in 82 countries, 82 governments across the world. So I will tell you what we can say and what we can't say any longer, just so that you have full disclosure and you get the full picture. Does that make sense? So how is this technology even possible? This is what this cell activation patch looks like. You'll also see that I'm wearing them here on my wrists. This is all possible due to the research and the findings of Dr. Lauren Picard from 1973, when he actually discovered that GHKSU copper peptide activates a third of your previously dormant stem cells, turning genes to a younger, healthier state. So here I'm just talking a little bit about history, some of the background of how this technology is even possible and even available to people like you, with families like yours. And so the thing to know is like, okay, what are these smart cells? I like to call them master smart cells because that's what your stem cells are. Well, at conception, your mother's ovum unites with your father's sperm. And at conception, you now have 23,688 genes and stem cells because you now have complete information. And that complete information then begins to form you in your mother's womb. It's the stem cells that are actually holding all the programming, all the blueprint to form you at the beginning, to form you into an embryo, later into a fetus. Before you know it, you're a newborn baby. Now you and I take who knows how many rotations around the sun. And now we're here on this Zoom call, right? On this Zoom call, on the internet, talking, having this discussion about this life-saving technology. And what's important to know about these master smart cells is that they are pluripotent. A lot of you have never heard of the word pluripotent. And all pluripotent means is pluri comes from plural, potent, potentials. So it's just letting you know that these master smart cells have many potentials. So just as that original master smart cell can create a red blood cell, it can create an endothelial cell, it can create a cardiac cell, a skin cell, a fat cell, any and all information that's required to form you in your entirety from conception until you take your last breath. It has all the master information, including your nerves. Pretty powerful building blocks of life. And when you're just 25 years of age, and I want you to think about this, at conception, you had 100% of all your DNA, 100% of all your stem cells. And when you reach 25, all of a sudden you have these things that are the building block of collagen called fibroblasts. They start to decline in their production of collagen. So by the time you're 30 years old, just 30 years old, your original amount of stem cells, you only have 50% of them that still remain. 50% of them turn off and 50% remain. And the 50% that turned off, it's not because they're damaged, not because they're destroyed, not because they've disappeared. They've simply gone dormant until you apply this life-saving technology, which many have called the most powerful device on the planet, on the face of the earth, the holy grail of healing, some will call it. And so it's important to know that when you're just 30 years old, 50% of them turn off. And by the time you're 60, because for every decade of life that you remain alive after 30, you go from 50% off, 60, 70, 80, you get 60 years of age, and now 90% turn off. And that 10% of those original master smart cells then are going to take you to the finish line. Doesn't matter if you live to be 70, 80, 90, 100, 105, 110, 120 years old. That last 10% of that little remodeling crew that's been there since conception, only 10% are remaining. Again, until you apply one of these activation patches, right? And I want you to think about your bodies just so that you begin to equate what these cells are, these master blueprints to your body. Your body is like a temporary housing unit. And if you were to look at inside your body, those master smart cells are just very similar in the mechanical behavior of how they function. They're very similar to a printer ink cartridge. So if you have a brand new set of ink cartridges and you go to make photocopies, the photocopies are identical to the original. They're indistinguishable. Same thing when you have 100% of your original master smart cells, your original stem cells from conception, and you have 100%, you get a crisp copy of the original. But when you only have, let's say you only have 30% left, 20% left, 10% left, then guess what? That copy is a faded version of the original, just like with your copies on your copier. When you only have 30% of the ink left, 20% of the ink left, those copies are very faded versions of the original, right? Same thing is true with your cells, with your master smart cells, which is why we age so much faster once we hit the age of 60. And so how, the big question is, a lot of people want to know exactly how do the patches work? Well, and some people don't care. Some people say it's like, hey, I put the key in my car. I don't really know how that engine works. I don't really care. As long as I can put the key in and I can get in behind the driver's seat and drive, I'm cool. I don't need to know the mechanics. But some of us are a little more curious. I'm going to share with you how the patches work It's simple and complicated at the same time. So the thing to be aware of is that inside your body, if you were to touch your face, your neck, anywhere on your body, you're not cold, you're warm. And that's evidence of the infrared light that's inside your body. If I were to put a thermometer in your mouth or under your armpit, you're going to notice that you're about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, right? That is evidence, that warmth, that heat is evidence that not only that you're a biological being that's alive, but it's a measurement of the infrared light inside your body. You're probably wondering, well, why are you calling it infrared light? Well, the only reason you have heat inside your body is because you are literally a light body. So if I were to scan you with a spectrograph, as in this picture here, and I do have a biowell machine where I can measure the light, the hertz of energy that you have inside your body, all of the 56 trillion cells, think about that number, 56 trillion. It's a lot of cells in your body, right? But all 56 trillion cells have electrons inside of them. Your blood, your cerebral spinal fluid, the liquids in your body all have electrolytes. That's in the fluids of your body. Electrolytes and electrons are little packets of electricity. When you eat food, food is just a light barcode of your environment, transporting light from the outside of you with nutrients and vital information that you take in through eating, and then your body breaks it down. You chew it, break it down through your digestive system, and you break it down literally into electrolytes and electrons that go into your bloodstream, carrying oxygen, nourishment, and vital information and instructions for your body to do whatever it is that it needs to do. So that infrared light is part of the key of how we activate our original stem cells. Because the moment you take one of these master cell activation patches, doesn't matter if you want to call it, because we used to be able to call them stem cell activation patches, but the FDA doesn't want us to call them that anymore. So if any agents are watching here right now, you'll see I don't call them that anymore. We call them cell activation patches, phototherapy patches, photobiomodulation patches, wearable light technology patches, just plain old patches, whatever. The bottom line is that this is a mechanical device that will redirect your body's infrared light. So the moment I put a patch on my skin anywhere on my body, these crystals that you can see here as I hold this up to the camera, that white dot, even though it looks like a white dot, that is a collection of organic hydrogen, oxygen, organic sugars, organic crystals, and a proprietary blend of organic amino acids. And each one of those crystals are programmed with a very specific frequency. And then all of the crystals are arranged in a very specific geometrical grid pattern in order to create the effect of this particular patch, which is the first one, which is the mother cell activation patch, which in just a minute, I'm about to explain to you exactly what that particular patch does. So the mechanics of how this works. So I talked about the crystals in this little patch, right? This patch is about the size of a quarter. It's about 3 centimeters. It's very small. And if you were to look at a diamond crystal and I were to flash a flashlight onto that diamond crystal, you would immediately notice, oops, I did not mean to move that. You would notice that the light is going to bounce off of that crystal. That diamond crystal is behaving like a mirror. It's going to reflect back to your eyes. As you're seeing right now, all the different colors of the prism, it's reflecting back to your eyes the light. And the original light source is the flashlight. Your body is like that flashlight. So now I take these patches, I take one, or I take, as in my case, I take the Fantastic Five and the energy enhancers. I apply them. As soon as I put the first patch on my body, the infrared light immediately bounces off of the crystal lattice and it goes into my body 4 inches deep. Muscle, through the tendons, the ligaments, through the bone marrow. It goes down into the cellular level of our body, into the bone marrow. It's activating a third, that's 33% of our previously dormant stem cells. Now, we had at birth 23,688 stem cells. And so now you're going to activate 33% of those, which is about a little over 4,100, almost 4,200 stem cells. And so then what happens next? The thing to know, that process of the light from your body bouncing off of this crystal lattice and bouncing in 4 inches deep and creating this immediate restoration, reparation, and regeneration, that process is called photobiomodulation. And so some people watching this here right now think, oh, this whole stem cell stuff, this is all like brand new. This is just in the last 5-10 years. Or they think photobiomodulation is just, oh, these infrared light beds and devices and so forth. That's just in the last 5-10 years. And actually, let me tell you what the research shows. While phototherapy, first of all, has been defined as the use of ultraviolet light for its healing effects, the LifeWave patches have been specifically developed to reflect light in the infrared and visible light bands back onto the skin where the patch has been placed. Supported by normal electrodermal skin conductance, the human body gives off a number of materials biochemically, including particulate release, gas emission, ultraviolet, infrared, near infrared, and visible spectrum of light. This then stimulates that area of the skin, producing improved physiological effects, and variations on phototherapy have been used for, it says here at least, but I can tell you it's been well over 100 years. And in that time, there's been very little evidence of any negative side effects. This suggests that this is a relatively untapped option for healing with relatively few risks. And in fact, history and science has documented that the first use of photobiomodulation, photo means light, bio, we're biological beings, modulation means movement and change. And that was back in 1895, the first documented use of photobiomodulation. And that was in 1903, we had Niels Ryberg Finsen, who just 8 years after the first documented use, he won the Nobel Prize for his research using red light to treat tuberculosis of the skin. And in his experiments with mice, he found that exposing them to red light reduced not only their symptoms, but their mortality rate from lupus vulgaris. And what you may or may not know about Niels Ryberg Finsen is that Niels was suffering himself from lupus vulgaris. So he had a high degree of motivation to get to find something that would fix him. And then the rest is history. So as you can see, it's been well over 100 years that we've been using photobiomodulation in a clinical and hospital setting, etc. In fact, I used to work years ago. I used to work in the ER, and we also worked in the pediatric intensive care and neonatal intensive care unit. And I know that prior to 30 years ago, they didn't have bilirubin lights for babies that were born prematurely. But I know that when I first started working in the medical field, we would take babies that were premature, that were 1 or 2 months or 3 months premature, and we would put them in an incubator, and we would put them under the Billy lights, which were these special lights to help mature the liver of the babies, because their bilirubin levels were high because their livers weren't able to regulate their bodies, and they would get something called jaundice, which their eyes would yellow, which is very dangerous to the development of the brain, and their skin would become very yellow. Prior to us having bilirubin lights in neonatal intensive care units, I am told that they would take the babies in the nursery, and they would have an east-facing wall in the neonatal intensive care unit, and they would open up the windows and allow natural sunlight to be on the babies. They would cover their little eyes and just put diapers on them and then flip them over every 30 minutes on each side so that their livers could benefit from the infrared light of the sun. So that's just a little history, just kind of going to show you that the general population may not be aware of these things, but photobiomodulation has been used quite extensively, and everyone is familiar that doctors and surgeons now use lasers, which is a form of photobiomodulation in all sorts of different ways. So it's really critically important, even if you choose, as you're checking this information out and learning a little bit about how our master smart cells work and learning about things having to do with health and well-being. I tell people, I would never tell you what to do. I would never tell you, you got to get started today and order your patches today. But if you have one big takeaway from this time that we spend together, the number one thing would be, please do drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. People who are in the health and wellness space, people who are athletics, people who are training for the Olympics, peak performers all know people that are also into health and well-being and nutrition know how important it is to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. And for those who are questioning and thinking, oh, this is probably not that big a deal. I don't really like the way water tastes, or water's not that important. Nothing could be further from the truth, because when you don't hydrate your body properly, a baby is about 82% water when it comes out of its mother's womb, having been in an amniotic sac, which was filled with water prior to birth. So you come out of the womb pretty juicy, and you stay pretty juicy for a while, high water content. And as you get older, the average individual is about 70% water. The average 60-year-old American is about 55% water. And the thing is that when you become dehydrated, first thing that happens is that there are things in your body that shrink. All sorts of things shrink inside your body. First thing is your brain is very hydrophilic. That means it's water loving. So your brain shrinks. Can't afford to have your brain shrink. Your DNA is also compromised because your DNA is made up of 92% water. So as soon as you get dehydrated, you're starting to pull water from your DNA. So we're going to talk about what happens. I'm going to show you a picture of DNA that's properly hydrated with 50% of their weight in fluid ounces of water consumed, and someone who isn't. But the other big thing to know is that as soon as you become dehydrated, at 2% dehydration, you feel parched in your mouth. At 8% dehydration, check out what happens. And remember I said that DNA is an energy amplifier. Makes sense. If it's 92% water, it can move electrical currents pretty efficiently throughout your entire body. But check out, this is DNA, properly hydrated. You notice that it's standing tall, straight, and erect. It's stable. It has the beautiful helix ladder structure of the figure 8. When you're 8% dehydrated, your DNA starts to unravel. And this is someone who has 8% dehydration, and you can see how it's losing its shape. It's unraveling. It's literally coming apart. 10% dehydration. Again, I told you that your brain is hydrophilic, and it's over 70% water. As soon as you hit 10% dehydration, your cognitive functions become compromised. You lose your mind. You literally cannot have a thought because it's like mud in your head. And at 12% dehydration, game over. As soon as you hit 12% dehydration, all systems of the body shut down. Your different organ systems of the body were already starting to shut down on your way to 8% dehydration. 12%, game over. So too bad. It's we should have had more water. A lot of things are like a lot of headaches are eliminated just through the consumption of water. So people ask also, how often or how long are you going to be wearing the patches? Well, the patches are going to be worn 12 hours on and then 12 hours off. As you're aware, we're on a 24 hours a day cycle. We have 12 hours of sunlight, with the sun, and then we have sunset to sunrise. That's another 12 hours. And we have our sympathetic nervous system, which is our, that's when we're in a beta brainwave state. We're alert, we're moving. That's when we get our things done. And then our parasympathetic rest and digest system is after sunset. That's when we rest, we digest. So you're going to be wearing the patches every morning. You pick the time to start. Let's say it's 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., you apply your patches wherever it is you're going to be wearing them. That's perfect for you. We have traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points that we recommend. We also have general locations for overall, health and well-being. But you're going to wear them for 12 hours, and then you're going to have your little alarm on your phone. 12 hours later, it'll go off going, remove patches. You take your patches off, discard them. The next morning, you apply a new set. When your alarm goes off in the morning saying, apply patches. And I suggest to people, just like anything else, it's a new habit that you're going to develop. Just as you brush your teeth every day, I'm going to recommend that you take your patches. And what I do, whether I'm at home or whether I'm traveling, I take my Fantastic 5 patches and I put them on the left-hand side of my bathroom sink, because as I'm brushing my teeth, I'm going to see them. And that's a visual cue and a reminder to me to put the patches on. And I put them on the left-hand side of my bathroom only because we read left to right, and it makes sense for me to put them left to right. So that's what I advise to everyone, to do the same, to just put them in your bathroom on the left-hand side. I have people who sometimes say, oh, I have mine in my closet, but I forget to put them on. So just move them to your bathroom. That way, every day, as you sit there brushing your teeth, you'll see them. You'll go, oh, that's right. After I shower, and I go ahead and I'm going to put them on. Okay. Here on the right, I'm just showing you a little image of a diagram where I'm instructing you where, as you wear more than one patch, you want to maintain the integrity of the patch where the adhesive can overlap. But you want to maintain the integrity of the patch because that is the frequency and the pattern for that particular patch to signal your body for what that patch does. So you want to maintain the integrity of that at all times. And whether you put them down in a strip or you put them in a circle, I usually don't wear mine in a circle, but to make a point to someone who I was, in their particular case, they needed to put them in a circle like this. So I took the patches and attached them just so that this could be a demo. And I wore them for a day that way. You can choose to wear them in a strip or in a round circle. It just depends what your goal is for your body, okay? And so when we have just the adhesive overlapping, we call that kissing patches, okay? So I'm going to share with you, this is Dr. John Harmon, and I don't have these pictures out of order. They're actually in order. Somebody recently said to me, it's like, oh, I think you meant to put the one that's on the right, on the left, you have them backwards. I go, no, no, no. This is what he looked like when he started on the patches. He had gray hair. He had a lot of fine lines and wrinkles. He had a lot of inflammation. You can see from his eyes, he had quite a bit of inflammation. I happen to be certified in traditional Chinese medicine, face reading, which is for different medical conditions and so forth. And we don't diagnose or do those things here on this, but just to say that he was older when he started, even though biologically he's younger now, he's chronologically older now. This was about 3 years ago. When he started on the patches, he had two big dilemmas, two really big health scares that were really disturbing. And the first thing was he had a right bundle branch blockage. He had been hiking, and all of a sudden he felt all sorts of strange feelings in his heart. And he also had terrible knee pain. So when he went to his doctors, the first doctor was the knee doctor, and the orthopedic surgeon told him, he goes, dear God, John, I don't know how you're walking on that knee. It's a polished knob. He says, you have no cartilage. He goes, I don't even know how you're walking on it. He goes, you need knee replacement surgery. He's like, no, 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 I am not doing knee replacement surgery. I got to figure something else out, but I don't want to do that. And then he went off to not one, not two, but 3 cardiologists. And the 3 cardiologists all diagnosed him with the same thing, same findings, same recommendations, same protocols. They all told him he had a right bundle branch blockage that was inoperable, that he would be on heart medications, basically for the rest of his life, and that his longevity is being compromised as a result of this condition because the electrical aspects of his pump, which is his heart, was not doing so good, was damaged basically. And he thought, surely there must be something on the planet that can fix me. And he happens to repattern the brain from physical and emotional trauma as well. He has a center in his hometown. And so it was at that time, shortly thereafter, that somebody introduced him to this life-saving technology. And so he began on the patches. And I actually have, I interviewed Dr. John. He's a dear friend of mine. I interviewed him and had him share his entire story about a year and a half ago. Came onto my YouTube channel. He talks about his whole experience, and he talks about how in the first 3-4 months that he was on the patches, his knee pain was 100% gone. In the first month, I think it was down 50 to 100%. But in the first 3 to 4 months, his knee was back to like it was when he was young. He no longer needed knee replacement surgery. And he continued to wear the patches. And then patients in his clinic started to notice, hey, because he started with dark hair starting to grow in the back. He was all gray. And all of a sudden he had a bit of dark hair in the back of his head. And so some patients said, hey, are you starting to dye your hair? And he's like, what are you talking about? Because of course he can't see the back of his head. And they're like, well, you have a lot of dark brown hair in the back. And he's like, it's got to be the patches. Fast forward to 14 months later, he went from having all gray hair and having a significant amount of fine lines and wrinkles to his hair went all brown. and a lot of the inflammation in his whole body, not just his face. And of course, wrinkles are just a sign of oxidative stress. But it was in that 14th month as he continued, he didn't tell his 3 doctors that he was on the cell activation patches. But in that 14th month, as he visited all three of them were astonished. And they're like, we can't explain how this is possible, but your right bundle branch blockage disappeared. Somehow it disappeared. Your heart has regenerated the tissue and the electrical conductivity of your heart. Never have seen this in each one of them said never have seen that in their entire career. They've never read a paper or a study, anything to document this as a possibility. So they were quite taken aback. And it was at that time that he disclosed to them that he had started on these cell activation patches. And just this February, I just saw him a few weeks ago because he was in Greece. Him and his wife, Carla, was on the Greek and Italian cruise that we were on from the 7th to the 22nd of August. But in February, we were at Dr. Stacy had a leadership conference, and he was one of the speakers, and he recently published a book on GHKCU copper peptide. So he was talking to this lady that's here on the left that you can't see her pictured. So I took that as an opportunity to take a more recent picture of him so you can see how his hair is primarily all his original hair color. He has a little bit of gray on the temples and so forth, but for the most part, it's not gray anymore. It's primarily brown. And you can also see how he has less fine lines and wrinkles and less inflammation than he did prior to starting on the patches. And that this picture was taken Saturday, February 24th. Here's another friend of mine, Barry. Barry was the first person that I patched who had long haulers COVID. Poor Barry, he had been suffering for 18 long, arduous months with long haulers COVID. First, he got really bad COVID, and then he drug on with long haulers COVID with severe headaches. He would wake up every morning with headaches, with nausea. He had, chills, body aches. He had horrible insomnia. And so as soon as I had the patches, I told him, Barry, we got to get you started on these patches. We got to get you, it's during your sleep cycle that you restore a lot of damage that you have in your body. So he said, let's go. So he's in Canada, I'm in California. So we got him started on the patches, and I told him the minute you get your patches, call me, we'll do a patch placement call. So he called me on the 23rd. It was in the afternoon between 3 and 5 o'clock. And I said, Barry, you're supposed to wear these in the morning. They're supposed to be day patches. So I would recommend, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the morning, apply them, and then wear them for 12 hours. But you haven't slept in 18 months. He had tried gummies and CBD and everything under the sun. He could not get anything that would help him sleep. So he was pretty exhausted and just getting worse and worse and worse. So I told him, let's get you on the patches right now so that you have a good night's rest, and then we'll transition you to wearing them during the day, which is exactly what we ended up doing. I go, call me tomorrow. Let me know how you're doing. Tell me what your sleep was like, what your inflammation, what your energy levels like. Just kind of give me an assessment 0 to 10 where you are. The very next day around, you can see here, it was 3:41 in the afternoon on the 24th. He sent me this text message. Thank goodness he text messaged me because now I can share this with you. And he said, hey, Lillian, just a note. Don't know if it's a placebo or if the stem cell activation patches work that quick. Little thing here. We can't call them stem cell patches because there's no stem cells in the patches. These are stem cell activation patches, but we can't call them stem cell activation patches because the FDA doesn't want that anymore. So they're cell activation patches, okay? So he says, don't know if they work that quick or what, but I had really good sleep, a little better sleep, better than other nights. I fell asleep quicker. Today, I'm just on a high. I'm ecstatic. And Gwen sees that in me, and I feel really, really good physically. When I awoke this morning, no headache, no nausea. Yeah, it's just been a phenomenal day. So thank you, and I'll update you as we go along. Hope all is well. Thanks, bye. And I was so thrilled that my friend finally, after 18 long months, finally he had relief. So thank goodness. And since then, I can't even, after 100, I stopped counting. I've had hundreds of people that tested positive for the big COVID because they took the test, had high fevers, headaches, body aches, chills, nausea, all that. And I would patch them. I've never gotten anything, but my immune system's pretty up because I've been on the Fantastic Five for for some time. And every single one of them within 24 hours experienced relief from their symptoms, and the rest is kind of history. Here's a friend of mine, Kathy, who lives in Nevada. Her and I have a mutual friend, Annie, who's the one who introduced her to the patches. And so on Facebook, she put this picture in October of 2022. Now, I started on the patches. I got a hold of them in May when Dr. Nirmala, my partner, who's in Australia, she's the one who introduced me through the research side of the patches. And so now, fast forward to October, and Kathy on Facebook puts this picture. Her profile picture was not on there. It was just here of her neck and chest. And so we were like, oh my gosh, that's pretty dramatic from January to July, just 7 months. So we're witnessing on the outside of her body a dramatic transformation from a lot of wrinkles and fine lines and not so fine lines and crepey skin to no fine lines and wrinkles and crepey skin. But the bigger story for her was that she was suffering for 33 years from autoimmune disorder from 3 breast implants. And she also was recovering from a severe skydiving accident where when she first hit the ground, her mates that were skydiving with her, they didn't even run to her because they assumed she hit the ground so hard they figured she was dead. You can watch that video on my YouTube channel if you want to watch the whole hour, because as soon as she put this up, I said, okay, I'm going to share this on my, I'm going to share it to my main Facebook page, and my people, my friends, my acquaintances, my followers, they know that I would never put anything, bogus on there, but they're going to share it on their Facebook page and so on and so forth. And all those people, if I were one of them, I'd say, oh, that's a Photoshopped picture. That can't be true. It's gotta be baloney, right? So I immediately reached Kathy and I said, hey, Kathy, would you be willing to come on? And I'd love to have you share your before and after story and share about all your autoimmune disorder and about your skydiving accident and how you're better than you were way before the patches. You're like, and not only that, but she looks like she's 35, 40 years old. She doesn't look like she's a 60. At the time, she was 62 in January when she started the patches. You'll see that she was 62 years of age. She's now 64 going on 65. And when you watch the video, this is what she looks like. And if you see her in person, this is what she looks like. So I said, then people will see the Zoom video, whether it's on YouTube or Zoom, and they're going to, just like this Zoom, I can't make myself, look different or anything. So they'll see your likeness. And then I said, oh, by the way, can I have your profile picture? And she's like, no, I'm not going to do a profile picture. I don't do profile pictures. I don't take pictures of my face. That ain't going to happen. I'll do the video. I'll do the interview, and you can share that with, wherever, but you're not taking, no, I don't do profile pictures on I barely do social media. So I said, great. We did the interview in October, and then I sent her the video so she could see it. And she changed her mind, and she said, you know what? I changed my mind. Here's my profile picture. So I have that profile picture, but anybody can argue that the profile picture was touched up. So when you see the video, and I've shown it here before, if we have time at the end, I'll pull it up on my YouTube, because I do have a YouTube short that's like 30 seconds long that I can show you, and you can see she looks exactly the same. But the big story with her, yeah, it's great that she looks more youthful, but the bigger story is she no longer has autoimmune disorder. From the breast implants, all that silicone that wreaked havoc throughout her entire body for 33 years, she doesn't have that anymore. She's totally fine and healthy. And biologically, she's about 20 years younger than she was before she started on the patches. So that's very exciting. This is my story. I've had tons of YouTube podcasters and YouTube channels and Instagrammers and so forth that have interviewed me. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I got hit by a bus just 3 blocks shy of finishing a 16-mile bike ride. I was hit from the back. The back of my head and my lower back were hit at the same time. I went flying. I got brain damage, lost all my short-term memory, also lost 50% of my hair, and my hair became dry, coarse, and brittle. And I developed all these neurological symptoms, including no short-term memory, including something called nystagmus. When you try, it's a neurological disorder from brain damage, where you try to focus on something, and as you try to focus so that you can read, your eyeballs just wiggle. They go back and forth. They jiggle back and forth in your eye. It feels very strange in your head when that happens, and then everything's moving, and it's just maybe, a few seconds. and then it stops for no apparent reason. And it happens out of the blue anytime you try to focus on anything. So I don't have that anymore, thank goodness either. But it took about 14, 15 months for me to get rid of all these symptoms. And my memory in the first 30 days took a big spike in improvement. I had regained, because my specialization has to do with repatterning the brain from physical and emotional trauma, and I had regained other people's short and long-term memories back before. It was ironic that I found myself in the predicament where now I was a neurological patient, and now I had to repattern my own brain from physical trauma, physical and emotional trauma from this experience. And so I was able to regain some of my memory back before I started on the patches, but it took quite a bit of effort. I had to do a lot of neurosomatics in order to learn, to memorize, to recall, and to actually recite certain things. And between the third and fourth week of my wearing the Fantastic Five and the energy enhancers, all of a sudden, as I was making my way reading through all 90 clinical studies, I noticed that there was one paper that struck out to me about the keywords. If you read a lot of research papers, some of them are 3-4 pages long, some of them are 38, 40 pages long. It just depends. Some of the authors of the papers are really great writers, and they're great at communicating in print and expressing their data very clearly and concisely, and others not so much. It's just like anything else, right? But this particular paper, not only was it short, concise, but the way they communicated the data was really great, especially in the abstract. So as I read the 4 keywords, I thought, oh my gosh, no one's talking about these 4 keywords, and they're great descriptors of what the patches are. So, and it said organic, nanotechnology, photobiomodulation, and traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points. And I thought, those 4 keywords, I need to use that when I'm talking to people about this technology. Then it went on to say in the abstract that the LifeWave Ice Wave, which is the only patch we have that doesn't repair anything, this one is a pain management patch that just turns off pain receptors, while the rest of the patches repair and regenerate your body. So it said the LifeWave Ice Wave, organic nanotechnology using photobiomodulation applied on traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points, created a significant effect on all the research subject participants in the study, giving them the effect of 50 to 100% reduction in pain, proved to be true and accurate. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is written so well, so concisely. Everybody can understand that. I got to commit that to memory. I got to learn that, got to memorize it so I can recite it. So I took the paper, because I printed the paper, and I knew that I was going to have to highlight it. I was going to have to, my MO prior was outline it, then do 3x5 cards, and, write notes over and over again so that I could commit what I just recited to you by memory and use it in Zoom calls like this and conversations with people. So that was in the morning, because I do my reading in the morning. Later that afternoon, I had a Zoom call, and somebody asked me about the IceWave pain management patch. And I was able to not only see the paper in my head as it came, I didn't expect that, but it came out of my mouth, just as I shared it with you here right now. And as soon as that happened, I realized, oh my gosh, I have my short-term memory back from when I was a pre-med student at USC. And in that moment that I had that thought, I was taken back to my kindergarten year when I was 5 years old in November, the week before Thanksgiving. I remembered being in the hospital for a week because I had eye surgery in both eyes, and I had a different type of patch, but I had patches keeping my eyes from moving because I had sutures on both sides of my eyes. And I realized, oh my gosh, this traumatic brain injury that I thought I was only recovering from one traumatic brain injury, I was recovering from 2. Because when I had surgery when I was 5, they put me under general anesthetics. And anytime you undergo general anesthetics, you inadvertently suffer a traumatic brain injury as they lower your vitals so that the anesthetics take. You have a deprivation of oxygen to the brain, which is what causes that TBI. And I realized then why my brain and my memory was better than it had ever been in my entire life, because I never had the benefit of my full memory from the age of 5, from that point moving forward, my entire academic career, I did it having had that traumatic brain injury. And then the rest is kind of history. So let's go on here. I'm just gonna go down the bullet points. The short answer to what the patches do is they activate a third of your previously dormant master cells to repair, restore, and regenerate the entire body, head to toe, depending on what system of the body we're focusing. We use the mother, the daughter, or like, again, we have a suite of 11 types of patches. For those of you who want to know more specifically, like myself, these are the bullet points, which we can text to you as well so that you have the bullet points. But specifically, the patches will help your master cells regenerate cells, replacing damaged cells with your original cells. It'll restore collagen, rebuild scar tissue, replacing scar tissue with the original tissue. So the scar that I had on my right leg from my accident, I don't have a scar there anymore. I'm scar-free, even though I had 3 scar revision specialists who told me, we're going to do scar revision surgery, but we're going to have to replace that scar with another scar, to which I said, no, thank you. So I didn't have to subject myself to another TBI from general anesthetics, not to mention the pain and suffering from recovering from a surgery. So thank goodness for that. This reduces fine lines and wrinkles, increases your energy, your sexual libido, antioxidants, anti-aging, anti-inflammatories. You'll experience pain relief within 50 to 100% within 3 to 4 minutes. Improved hair growth, like myself. My hair is smooth, soft, and silky, no longer dry, coarse, and brittle. And you'll experience improved sound or deeper sleep because the mother cell activation patch induces a REM state of sleep. We have, because we don't do protocols, we have what I like to call a Veritas Concilium, which means a true plan of action. It's just a recommendation or advice on how to apply the patches on traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points. This is a master, kind of like a master sheet of each patch and the recommended acupuncture points for each patch. So we provide that to everyone who starts on the patches. When you receive your patches, each patch comes with its own little instruction booklet, but I offer patch placement to anyone who asks for that advice or that recommendation. So the next patch after the 39 is the 49, which does something entirely different. So this one activates GHKCU copper peptide, which we talked about already. This one activates a different copper peptide, tripeptide, AHKCU copper peptide. So this one, the first thing it does is it provides you radiation poisoning relief. It increases your lean muscle mass because all mammals, humans, animals, all lose lean muscle mass and strength as they age. So this is going to help reverse that and regenerate that tissue. Increases bone density, muscle mass and strength, increases your energy, increases your focus, your cardiovascular function, because the two are tied, protects you against electromagnetic frequencies from 5G, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi radiation, desktops, laptops, iPads, notepads, cell phones, etc. LED lights in your environment, not to mention the electromagnetic frequencies that come from your Wi-Fi routers. If you look at everyone's home, place of work, place of business, just your kitchen, you have your refrigerator, your coffee maker, your hot water pot, your food processor, your Ninja, your microwave, your stove, all of those have LED lights. You get in your car, your entire dashboard is all LED lights. It doesn't matter if it's a car, a train, a plane, a boat. You're bombarded with all these LED lights. And you may not know that LED lights do 3 things. Number 1, it destroys your DHEA, fountain of youth hormone. Number 2, it increases insulin resistance. And number 3, it increases inflammation. Now you can unring the bell of those things and that damage through cellular activation of your master smart cells. Okay, so we only have 2 more patches, 3 more patches, because these are 2 of the 5. So we're going to talk, the next 3 are master antioxidants of the body. And these are those patches. And I'm just a little reminder to drink your water, 50% your weight in fluid ounces. And I like to call glutathione our gladiator, because glutathione, your brain signals your liver to manufacture glutathione. Then your liver sends it through your bloodstream to every organ, to every muscle of the body, every organ system, all of your nerves have to have glutathione in order for them to work. And so this master antioxidant boosts the detoxification of your entire body, and it also boosts your immune system. Because if you take a glutathione patch and wear it for 12 hours today, let's say you wore it from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., by tomorrow morning, our research studies show, and we have many of them on the glutathione patch, your glutathione levels will boost 300 to 600% based on your original blueprint from conception. Very, very powerful. And it'll stay at that level as you continue to patch yourself every day. Pretty helpful to have had, especially during the last 3-4 years and everything that we've gone throughout the entire globe simultaneously. Wouldn't you agree? So this is a massive antiviral, removes germs, viruses, bacteria, environmental toxins, any kind of toxin that you take by whatever means. This is a radioprotector against DNA damage. It's going to help improve your skin appearance. It has to do with those nerve endings again. And it also helps promote relaxation and reduces stress. As I made my way and read all 90 clinical studies, I wanted to share with you, I cut out of one of the papers this particular thing, because anybody who has any issues with any one or multiple of these organs, I thought this was important for you guys to know. So it says here that the glutathione patches worn 12 hours daily over a period of just 4 weeks produced a highly significant improvement in physiologic functional status of your pancreas, liver, gallbladder, intestines, left and right adrenals, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and a significant improvement in your pancreas with a statistical power of at least 72%. So it says here, stated differently, all organs achieved a significant cellular physiologic functional status improvement compared to the baseline with a statistical power of 91%. If you want to read that paper, the name of the paper is right here. Nanoscale glutathione patches improved organ function. Okay. So the next patch, you can see how that works well with the mother and the daughter patch. And so then after the mother, the daughter, and the glutathione, we have next the carnosine patch. And this carnosine patch, just to help people remember the name carnosine, carnosine, the root word is in Latin is carne, kind of like carne asada tacos. Who doesn't love a good carne asada taco? That's like red meat, right? So this master antioxidant supports and improves your cardiovascular system and all things that are related to your heart and the muscles of the body. It's going to improve healthy brain function, memory, focus, and brain processing speed, brain processing time. That means the ability for you to recall things and use them in real time. Strength, stamina, endurance increases. This patch detoxes you from aluminum and aids in wound restoration. I want you to take a quick thinking, walk down memory lane, rewind the videotape of your life. And as you go back to your childhood and your young teenage years and whatever age you might be at, how many cans of soda or juice, Hawaiian punch, how many pies have you had that were baked in an aluminum tin? How many baked potatoes wrapped with aluminum foil, or turkey or ham or chicken or what have you? How many times have you had takeout food that you brought home in an aluminum container with an aluminum covering? How many of you grew up in the States like I did, where up until 2014, all toothpaste was put in an aluminum tube? And it wasn't until 2014 that Tom's toothpaste, the consumer said, how can you have organic toothpaste in an aluminum tube when we know that aluminum is a known neurotoxin? And so Tom's toothpaste was the first one in the United States to move over to plastic recycled tubing, and the rest is history. So a lot of us have inadvertently taken in aluminum, traces of aluminum from all sorts of different things, not to mention different fish that sometimes have high degrees of aluminum and mercury. If you work in a gun manufacturing plant, or a manufacturing plant that has aluminum for awnings or other metal products, then of course your aluminum exposure is even greater. This is going to unring the bell of that damage, because that's what carnosine, the master antioxidant, does. Reminder here to drink your water, of course, from the time you get up till you go to sleep. And then the last of the Fantastic Five that we're going to go over is the Eon patch. We love the Eon patch. I love all the patches, but this patch has a place that's near and dear to my heart. They all kind of do. It's kind of hard to pick a favorite, especially when you know how they work. But this patch, we call it the happy patch because this patch, when we get on the patches, oftentimes your brain is out of balance. Mine definitely was because I had brain damage. I had a traumatic brain injury, right? So as you get on the patches, your brain goes from being out of balance and it quickly gets your brain into balance, into what we call homeostasis. We've nicknamed the Eon patch, which does eons of good. It's named after the master antioxidant, Eon. And this patch, we call it the anti-stress happy patch because it's going to reduce your cortisol levels and your C-reactive proteins. Because when you have stress, you have PTSD, anxiety, you have that fight or flight response, you have high pressure jobs. Again, that fight or flight response, cortisol and C-reactive proteins go up. Guess what? Now that's going to be brought down into proper balance. And as your brain is balanced, our research studies show that within 20 minutes of applying this patch, people have a calming effect. Pretty powerful. So this patch, in addition to doing that, it also increases your DHEA fountain of youth hormone, which I mentioned before. LED lights, the screen that we're watching this Zoom and this YouTube video on, desktops, laptops, iPads, notepads, cell phones, LED lights all have blue light. That breaks your DHEA fountain of youth hormone. This is going to increase and restore your natural level of DHEA fountain of youth hormone. And it's going to bring down your inflammation. Very, very powerful patch. So I want to take a minute here and also finish. This is the 5th patch, letting you know what anti-neoplastins are, because you can clearly see that it says here it raises anti-neoplastins, and 99% of the public doesn't know, has never even heard of an anti-neoplastin. And this is significant for people who have inflammatory conditions. We don't make any medical claims. So the patches are not made for any particular medical condition, diagnosis, syndrome, etc. But anti-neoplastins, the research study shows that these are peptides that are found in the urine and blood of normal healthy people, and that they might stimulate your immune system, that they might also kill certain cancer cells or prevent them from growing. So in a clinical setting, we use them for various cancers, high cholesterol, brain swelling due to infection, things like encephalitis, meningitis, HIV, AIDS, Parkinson's disease, and other conditions like Guillain-Barré, etc. So, and they're administered through IVIG, which is intravenous immunoglobulin therapy. So this is a natural way of increasing your anti-neoplastins, just as we're naturally increasing your original blueprint from conception. All these different agents are being turned back on based on your original blueprint. So I want to take a minute now and answer any questions you might have. Just go ahead. Carol, it's great to see you on here. Jordan, I'm going to ask you to unmute and get back on camera. If you want to ask any questions, you are more than welcome to do that now. Any questions, Jordan? Oh, I can't hear you. I think you need to put your volume up.
It was amazing.
Oh, okay. Can you start over? I couldn't hear what you were saying.
If you can hear me now, I don't have any questions that I'm just digesting, but your personal stories and how you extend the love to get the people the results in your life that you care about. You know, this mechanism is something special. So thank you. Great job.
You're welcome. Yeah, this has been a huge life changer for me, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I don't know if you can tell, but I still have my Christmas tree up because I truly, for the last 2 years, it'll be 3 years this December, that I kept my Christmas tree up because once I started using this life-saving technology, not only did I see what it did for me, but what it has done for so many others, that I feel like I get to be Santa Claus every single day of the year. And so I get to be Santa sharing this life-saving technology. And I also get to be the little kid under the Christmas tree that goes whippy, 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 because I get incredible testimonials 7 days a week, every single day from people all around the world that we start on these patches. So this is my life passion. This is like the most extraordinary experience that any human being could ever have. And so I am just happy and grateful that you're willing to listen and learn about this. And that's part of why I'm here. So thank you. I really appreciate the very kind compliment. Great. Well, if you don't have any other questions, the last thing I'm going to close with, I'm going to share my screen just to share with you guys the pricing, because some of you guys want to know about the pricing. I will always refer you to get back to the person. For those of you who are on YouTube, some of you are new to my YouTube channel. Some of you are just discovering it. Others have been here for a while. Some of you might have a friend or family member, or maybe a doctor or a holistic care practitioner that referred you to the channel. Get back to the person who referred you to this video so that they can answer the questions that you might have. The number one concern we have is to make sure that all your questions get answered. So with that being said, I'm going to finish off just sharing the last few things where you can read all 90 clinical studies so that you can read them. And also, some people don't care about the clinical studies, but they want to be able to provide that for their healthcare provider. So you can, we're going to talk about the cost in just a second. Of course, the cost, we can't charge you $1 million, although a lot of people would say it's worth it to pay $1 million to get your health back, right? To save your life. Traditional stem cell therapy costs $8,000 to, actually, I've had friends that have paid as much as $25,000 an IV session, but they had to leave the country. They still have to leave the country if they choose to do that, which most of them don't do that anymore because they're on the patches now. These you can get for the price of $5 a patch a day. And we can put you on a doctor wholesale price pack, which the gold pack would take care of the Fantastic Five. That retails for $750. Because you're watching this Zoom, people who go directly to our site, my site, or the person who referred you, they just pay the $750. It's $149 for the mother and $149 for the daughter. So you pay $750 for those patches. But when you come to us, then we can take down your information, put you in our back office, and we can save you 30%. And we recommend that you be on the patches for the next 12 to 18 months. Because without being on the patches, your body's on a 7-year schedule to turn over all 56 trillion cells of the body. But once you're on the patches, everything happens much quicker. So over the next 12 to 18 months, the majority of the things are going to get cleared through your body, and your body's going to be regenerated and reset and restored, like Kathy, like Dr. John and myself and Barry and so forth. So on a diamond pack, if you're willing to buy 3 months, 3 times 5 is 1,500. This would be $1,599. So you pay for 3 months in advance, and you get little over 2 months are bonused as free bonus patches to you. So you'll get the equivalent of 5 months of that cellular activation on the diamond pack, and you'll always have the largest discount and the best promos and everything at that level. And these numbers are good until September 30th of this year. Just as an FYI, as of this recording, which is the 1st of September now. This, for those of you who want to read all 90 clinical studies and the 120 patents, I call it an online filing cabinet. On this page at StartX39 now, you'll see a 2-minute, 3-minute video and an 18-minute video, a few testimonials, but the button for the research studies and the 120 patents, they're all right there. Everything is right there in a row. So it's all in one place. You don't have to go digging for it. It's all nicely put in one spot. For those of you who either have a traumatic brain injury, you know that you have a traumatic brain injury, or you know that you've had multiple concussions. Maybe you've had car accidents. Maybe you played football or soccer. You've had different circumstances where you hit your head and things haven't been the same since. This is a documentary where I was an associate producer, and it's about educating people about traumatic brain injuries and having people discover how often people are running around with TBIs unbeknownst to them, even though they were assessed in hospitals. There's a gal that fell 30 feet as a gymnast, hit her head on the floor. Guess what? They missed. We don't know how they missed that, but they did miss that traumatic brain injury. The good news is that you can unring the bell with these patches. At the time that we did this documentary, I didn't have access to the patches because we did the principal photography in 2017, and 2018, the segment that I dealt with was with Dr. Daniel Amen. And that was in August of 2018 that we filmed that. We didn't premiere this until 2019. Yep, during the pandemic, we premiered that. This is available on Netflix as well as Amazon Prime, so you can watch it there. But it's an educational piece, and I think it'll give you some insight as to the nature of how so many people are running around with TBIs unaware that they have TBIs. The good news is that we can turn that boat around. If you want to get the bullet points for the patches texted to you, just reach this number. It's not set up to a system, old school. I have to physically text it to you. So bear with me, give me at least 24 hours to get back to you. To watch the replay of this video, you can go to damelillianwalker.com. That points towards my YouTube channel, which the name is Love and Money Secrets TV. And I just want to thank you and remind you, oh, by the way, to get back to the person who referred you to this video. That's it. Thank you for your time and attention. Last opportunity to get a snapshot of the bullet points for the mother cell activation patch, just X39 if you'd like. And thank you for watching, Carol. Thank you for watching, Jordan. And Jordan, you've got my number if you want to reach out. Ask any questions that you might have. I'm here to answer those questions for you. Enjoy your Memorial Day.